Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the cabin. This is January 1, so Happy New Year to each and every one of you. And we hope that this year is a blessing for all of you. I guess this is going to be part 2 of our solar installation, because the last video we got it all installed, but we ran into the problem where we needed to do a firmware update before the system could actually communicate with the batteries. So we're going to get that fixed, and hopefully we don't have any other warnings because the system appears to be normal. It's just that it can't communicate between the two. But I think before we get started, let's go down to my daughter Jennifer. Let's go down to her and Steven's new house that they're building, and let's see how far they were able to get on the inside. Well, so here's the issue. When we get that warning cleared that's on the system, I think we're probably going to have to go into another section that I watched another video, because we're not getting any power out on the load side. So that means that even though the batteries are hooked up, I'm still not getting anything, so it's not passing through that system. And I think that we're going to have to go in and disable what they call the econo mode or something like that. It's for shipping, so that they don't actually ship them where the power is or could be, I guess, turned on. Okay, for those of you that haven't seen, this is going to be Jennifer's garage. This is what their new home is going to look like. That's their front porch. Looks like quite a bit of the wiring has taken place right there. They've got PEX and PVC already in place. Now we're going upstairs here. This is where Steven is going to have a hideout. This is what his room is going to be up here. Looks like they've got pressure on this line. They're testing it. That's part of their PEX right there. They've got a lot of this plumbing in place and guarded. There's part of the dryer vent, I think. So yeah, they're hanging heat and air. Looks like they got the bathtub shower installed in the third bedroom, I guess, second and third bedroom back here. Up there is the master bedroom behind that power panel that we were looking at. So it looks like that's what they've been able to accomplish. I was telling Jennifer that we need to go through that right there and get the large pieces of metal out. This is also extra that she ended up with. And then all these pieces of cypress we dug out of the pile down there, which, you know, most of them are what, maybe 3 foot and longer. I mean, there's some shorter pieces in there, but that would make legs. You could make a bench top. You could make some sawhorses, like we made the timber frame sawhorses. And then that over there would be used on buildings that they will be needing later on. And those pallets sitting down there as well. So there's still a lot of good stuff that doesn't need to be thrown away. I'll show you the progress we've been able to make on this power route that they're going to need. So right here's the stake where they're going to put the pole, and then it's going to be buried from here to the house. But we've got all of this cleared out. But I think I'm going to have to go ahead and take this one out, because it has to be 15 feet from the line, from the path of the line. So the line's going to be right in there, and I don't think, because that limb will only grow longer, but that poplar right there will yield several good logs. And then there's several down there that we need to come down here and get and clean up. But I'll tell you what, folks, living on a homestead like this, when everybody's got something going on, it sure can keep you busy. Well, in the last video, you remember I said towards the very end that I needed to go down and connect the solar panels together. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I went through and I connected these together right here. I left them undone purposely because while I was working up on the system up there, I didn't want to be creating power and sending it in that direction. So I just left them unplugged. But I went through on each one of them and I connected them together. I don't know if that's how I'm going to leave them, but for right now, that's how it's working. I left myself slack in there so that I would be able to turn the panels and do anything else that I needed to do. This is not permanent, but I'll have to figure out how I'm going to fasten those in there. But for right now, it's not hurting anything. So yeah, they're both hooked up and running. But I woke up this morning for a hankering for some homemade water gravy. So that's what I'm getting ready to make. I like to burn mine. I say burn it, but I like for it to turn a dark brown before I actually add my water in there. I think that it gives it more flavor when you do that. Well, I think that I should have let it get a little bit browner before I added the water, but that's about the right consistency, and it's going to taste good anyway. These are the lightning arresters that we installed in the last video, and that little diode that's on right there, it tells you that there is power, that this is online, and it is working. This cable right here is the way that the system communicates with the batteries. The problem that we're having is this cannot see those even though this is plugged in. So there has to be an update done in order for that to take place. After that is complete, then I have a new wire that we will plug in there, and I will mount it on the wall and make this look nice and neat, but this one was too short. I had to get a longer one. So if you have a solar system and you have issues like this, or you're thinking about getting one, you might want to hang around with us on this installation right here, because we're going to figure it out. But I'll tell you, so far everything appears to be normal. And that's the only warning light that we have, and we know that we can't communicate because I can't see how much is in the batteries. So once we get some juice flowing through here, then this one down here will glow just like those up there, letting you know that this one's online as well. Well, it does tell me that I'm getting from array number 1 280 volts, and I'm getting 274 volts from the second array. So it does let us know at least that we're getting power up here. This here was a gift from one of my friends, so I thought I would put it up in here since it pertains to electrical information. Well, I figured that I'd better install this little dongle before that guy gets here to program it. You hear Smokey out there with his new toy. Oh yeah, it came on. And then I've got two little screws here to hold it. Boy, those are tiny. Well, at least I can install a dongle, right? So we've got that part hooked up just in case he needs it, because I'm not sure whether it's going to be, if he's going to do it by wire or wireless. So if he does it wireless, then we're ready to go. I also got a new communication cable, and I decided to go ahead and put that in. I powered my system down before he gets here. That way, I think I can go ahead and put my panel back on. I'm not sure which side he does it from, but I will at least have this installed and fastened against the wall and making it look nice. Alright, we've got a new communications cable in place that's actually long enough and fits. How about that? Well, so I am waiting on the guy to get here from Jennifer's school, their IT guy, and he's going to help us do the firmware update on the batteries. But I got to show you guys something. I want you to check out this shirt that arrived in the mail today. That says Outpost Engineering, and check out the back. My son made this unknowing to me on our store, and then he shipped me one for Christmas. So I called him and I said, thank you so much, that is so cool, about engineering with crooked wood. So if this is something that you guys like, you can find that on our store. But I thought that that was really nice of him to do that, and they come in different colors. Anyway, let me show you the inside right here. I got the building all swept out. I got all my tools moved. I still got to mount this heat and air unit at some point. It's looking good in here. It's all nice and clean. So as soon as he gets here, hopefully, I think that he was going to go ahead and download any information that he needed to do, so that when he got here, he could just go ahead and plug in and change the firmware, and then hopefully we don't have any more warnings up here, and we'll start creating some juice for the cabin. I also brought this little heater out here. All I had was maybe a half a tank left, but at least it's got some cobwebs. It's been underneath the cabin. But hopefully, it's 40 degrees out right now, and it's chilly. I've got two sweatshirts on, but hopefully we can create enough heat to manage to stay out here long enough to make that firmware update, because I wouldn't want him standing out here in the cold. Well, I think while I'm waiting on him to get here, I've got a little project that I'm going to work on for my closet. I need some places to hang some of my clothes. So I'm going to use this right here. Well, I know I need to paint this room, but until I do that, I really need something to hang my clothes on. So that is the reason that I'm putting this up. I can always unscrew it and take it down when I get ready to paint. Well, now I can hang some things back here until I get time to dress this room up, but this is going to help out a lot because this is actually 11 spots that I could actually hang something, like my pajamas, you know, that you take on and off every day, and maybe a pair of work pants that you do the same. So yeah, this is going to help out a lot. Well, friends, I'm having to change up my plans just a little bit. I'm going to go down here and help Jennifer. I think we're going to fall this big poplar tree. And I think they're also picking up some of that tin that I was talking about on video. Anyway, I'll see you down there.
Hey, what we doing? Well, we're working.
Jennifer is pulling out stuff like this from the pile to save it, to use for different things. I showed you that the other day. We got a little bit more out. Got a 16-foot 2x4. Then there's some other stuff back there they still got to go through. But right now, I've got this big poplar right here I'm going to cut. And then the one just on the other side of them too. That one, it's going to have to come out. So here we go.
Y'all, let me say this real quick. People have made comments about us having to cut the trees. We have to cut them in order to have power. I don't choose to cut them. If I could keep them, they would be going nowhere.
Well, I'm sure that those folks know that trees were cut to provide them power too.
That's true. So, but if I had a choice, honey, these poplars wouldn't be going nowhere. They'd be staying right with me.
But they refuse to bring it in if you don't have a 30-foot path cut.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing. And I'm getting ready to go cut those too. So here we go.
Y'all, let's fall another tree. Whoa! Whoa! Wow. Wow.
Well, I'm heading back up here. I think those are the last two trees that we have to cut, and we've got it made because, like I said, they had to have a 30-foot pathway in there. But guess what? I've got to tell you guys something. We do have power to the cabin now, and I'm going to show you what the problem was. You will never guess. But I felt so silly afterward, but there wasn't anything I could do. But we finally got a hold of one of the technicians just before the computer guy got here to tell him. I called him and told him he didn't have to come because we already figured it out. So let me show you. All right, y'all can see what kind of weather we got. You can see the sun back over there behind the clouds. We started out today at 10 a.m. with some sunshine for about 2 hours. And then this is what it's like pretty much the rest of the day. So you hear that running? That is a really nice sound. So the day before yesterday, we actually got this figured out. Now yesterday I spent time working on the cabin wiring so that I could convert everything over and we could energize the cabin. So the day after yesterday, or the day before yesterday, my son called me and goes, "Dad, I got the technician on the line." He said, "Can you talk real quick?" And I said, "Sure." He says, "He thinks he knows what your problem is." So I came out here and I had him on the line. I said, "All right, what do you want me to do?" Okay, these are the batteries, and you can see those green wires right there as they go up. You plug one into the other. This chains them together as far as communications goes, just like you would cables on the bar that you've got right here. According to the book, the last cable would be plugged into here and go to the inverter. If you were using just one battery, you would put it in this one. But he said that this is the newest version. This does not require a firmware update. That does not require a firmware update. And the new ones work with the cord plugged into the CAN portion. So immediately when I moved that to that other port right there, I looked over here, there was a smiley face. Now you got to remember, we had voltage coming in here from the solar panels. We also had voltage coming in here from the battery, but it was stuck inside here. Nothing could connect together. Juice couldn't go into the batteries. I couldn't get anything out of the batteries. But as soon as the happy face appeared, everything seemed to magically connect on the inside, and boom, I had power. The batteries were at 50%, around 54%, I'm sorry, 54% when we first cranked everything up after they sat here for what, like 6 months? So with a cloudy day yesterday, I was able to charge somewhere around 1,500 to 2,000, kind of like today. Even though the sun wasn't out, I was still collecting juice. Now my average use is about 3,000, 3,500, something like that. So I gained a little over half of that yesterday. But today when the sun popped out, I am at, I have to get my glasses, that's why I've got some parked right there. We're at 81% charge. This morning when I came out here, they were down to 39%. So having them on all afternoon, all night, because you got to remember now everything stays on. Satellite stays on, the internet stays on, because there's no cutoff switch unless I unplug it or turn the breaker off. So I got a lot of stuff that's on at night. But I used about 15% from about 4 o'clock till maybe 8 this morning, 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So I think, based on our average weather patterns, this thing might be able to outrun me. I know I'm going to have days that I will put in less than I use, but on an average, it may be able to outrun me because we've charged about 50% so far in about 2 hours. So we're doing good, but like I said, we started out with sun and then the clouds came. But yeah, that's all it was with that simple little thing right there. Because once we moved it, everything was happy. Okay, where do we stand with the cabin? I guess you could see that I got all of those wires cut off of those temporary batteries. And I've got them pulled in here. They're all wired in. Everything looks really nice. Now I haven't put this back on, which I've actually got them all labeled. And the reason I didn't go ahead and put it on and start placing this sheetrock back here is I've got power everywhere in this cabin except the bathroom. Now the bathroom lights will work whenever I get those, purchased and get them hooked up. I do have the ends protected, but there are 2 outlets that I put on over there where I'm going to put the lavatory, if you guys remember when we were building the cabin here, and I'm not getting anything. It's almost like that I cut that wire in two. Now when I tied up everything, we have located everything in the house. That's the reason I've got it written down, except the last yellow wire, which is the 12 gauge, because I ran 7 lines. 6 of them are in the kitchen and 1 of them is in the bathroom. So there's something wrong with it, and I've yet to figure that out. So I thought, well, might as well not put all that on there until I can figure out what's wrong with that wire. But trust me, that could be some major work right there, because I've already got the sheetrock on. We're already painted, right? So I would have to cut a section out in there, and I'm thinking that I might wait until I get my shower, so that when I go to install it, if I have to cut the wall, I can do it then, and don't cut it any more than what the shower stall is actually going to be. That way I can go back in there and hopefully gain access to it where I can fix it. But yeah, we have got one wire that we're having an issue with, but everything else in the cabin works, and we've done a good job. I do want to address one thing. I went ahead and put this breaker box in here because I needed an outlet, right? We needed a place to mount our, I started to call it an isolator. It's an arrestor, I guess, would be the best word for it. We needed a place to mount that, and I also needed a place to tie on my house cable, right? Now I could have done it straight onto here because this is a breaker, but I needed to create a main for the homestead, right? This is the main breaker. You've seen me tie down grounds and neutrals, and unless I don't understand it correctly, on a main panel you can have both neutrals and grounds tied together because they're actually common. But you can't do that in a sub panel, right? Now this is a very small panel. It doesn't favor the big ones like you would normally have in your house, but I didn't need a big one because I only needed a couple breakers. So I needed a place for the feed to come in and just a couple of breakers on there, because I got one for the lights and this right here, right? And then I've got a breaker between me and the cabin. So like I said, this is the main. And then I've got this other breaker that I put in there just so that I could tie down this lightning arrestor because I didn't want to stack things behind other things. But this is the main panel for our homestead. Even though this one is larger, this is a sub panel because I've got all the neutrals tied down over here, all the grounds tied down over here, right? But they are not common. Because like I said, as far as I know, that's the way a sub panel works. They are not, the grounds and the neutrals are not common. They have to be separated in a sub panel, and the cabin is a substation off the main station. When I get a line down to the workshop, I'll have another setup down there just like this, because it will be a substation number 2 off of the main station, which is in the hut. If I decide to take one to the kitchen up there, it'll be a substation number 3 off of the main out there. Now, if I continue to do all that, I may at some point have to get a little bit larger box to go out there, but you understand what I'm saying? So by adding that one out there, I decided to make it the main and make this the substation. With the electrician up here, we wired this, and then he told me how to wire that out there. He said just tie all your grounds and your neutrals on the same bar, because that is your main and they can actually work together. And then I've got everything fed over here, like I said, to the sub panel, which my neutrals and my grounds are they're not common. Well, so look what I've got here. This is the new cord for the generator. I had to have one that had a 3-prong. This converts from a 4-prong to a 3 because this is what my generator has. And I've got some more clips to bond the unistrut down there, because that's something that I didn't do that I think that, you know, might be a good idea. Even though the panels are fastened down to them, you've got the paint on there. I didn't scrape any paint off, so they aren't making any good connection, and I don't trust the little screw that goes in there to make a connection. So I've got some more bonds that came in, and that's something else that I'm going to work on. So I think in the next video we're going to take one of the generators, we're going to station it over here. That's where it will stay permanently. One of those 100-pound gas tanks, we'll bring it over here, fasten it against the wall. At some point I'm going to have to build kind of like a little dog house to keep the generator in. then this wire, I assume what I'm going to have to do is probably cut a hole that size right there, run it through the wall, and then I will try to seal it back up so that we can stay airtight. And but yeah, I think that's what we're going to be working on in the next videos. So you guys have a good one. Until next time, friends, thanks so much for stopping by. We really do appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you back up here. How about we look forward to seeing you back up here at the Juice Shack again next time.